Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for a quick update on Ethereum. So I just want to quickly dive through the lower time frames and let you know what I think's happening in the immediate short term, one price target that I've got my eyes on for the lower time frames, and then we're going to do a little bit of a zoom out and I'm going to let you know when I'm a fan of Ethereum and what price target I will be buying into this market. So let's start off on the lower time frames and how I kind of think this cascade starts to happen. So if we look at the daily time frame, right now you can see a very beautiful BART pattern developing. Now these BART patterns, especially on Ethereum, play out most of the time. In fact, you can see there was quite recently a BART pattern over here. If I zoom in, it's a little bit hard to see. Boom. You can see we had a beautiful BART pattern here, sharp run up to the upside, spiky top, sharp run to the downside, fulfilling this price target. Now, we've basically got the same pattern once again over on the daily time frame, and this has a price target right down here at $1,150. So I do think we are going to be heading right down to this level. This is about a 17% drop from where we are at this moment in time. So in terms of the lower time frames, that is really what I see. Daily EMA ribbons are on the cusp of having a bearish flip, and typically just before you have these bearish flips, you normally start nuking into the bearish flip and then having a slight buyback into the EMA ribbon flip. So this is kind of what I see happening. We do have a little bit of support floor around about $1,330. So it is possible we could drop about another 4.6% or so. We do have this bearish flip. We have a slight buyback, potentially up to the 0.5 Fibonacci, 1,467 before flipping back bearish. Now, there is also one more thing that I do want to talk about on this chart. Now, if we clear up this data, you can see if we do look at the EMA ribbons right now, we have more or less just retested the long-term moving average. Now, if we're looking at macro retests of these moving averages, you can see we topped out here above the EMA ribbons, broke down, topped out above the long-term moving average. We topped out above both of the EMA ribbons. And then you can see since then, we've had one top in the EMA ribbons here, one top in the EMA ribbons here, and one top in the EMA ribbons here. So bar this data point and bar, this weak reversion, every single time we've pretty much reverted into these EMA ribbons, it's normally been preceded with lower highs and lower lows that do soon follow into the market. So I think this is really what's coming for Ethereum at some point very soon. And of course, like I said, we have a BART pattern down here at $1,150. If we now zoom out on the weekly time frame, this is where we get even more confluence. This is a BART pattern. In the lower time frames, this is a 786 Fibonacci. In the higher time frames, from this swing low and this swing low up to this swing high, you can see we've got a double 786 Fibonacci right around 1,110. And the longer or the higher 786 Fibonacci is around about 1,120. So all in all, we've got a lot of confluence right around this green box. We've got BART patterns, we've got one 786 Fibonacci on the daily, and we've got two higher time frame 786 Fibonacci's between 1,150 all the way down to 1,113. Now, what happens if, when we come down and fulfill this price target, we lose this level and continue to break back down lower? So the last line in the sand on this chart really is $1,110. Well, let's go over to the next chart. You can see that Ethereum in the slightly lower time frames since the 13th of June is still putting in higher lows. Now, this kind of starts to get decimated around about 1,200. So if you do come all the way down and fulfill this BART pattern and come down to this 786 Fibonacci around about 1,120, once again, you're going to be breaking this trend line, and then at that point, like I said, maybe you might have a little bit of a bounce coming into the EMA ribbons, and then it is likely that you will start heading back down to the downside, in my opinion. Bull market support bands as well. While we just mentioned the fact that we have been rejected from the top of the EMA ribbons, and now we are falling underneath the weekly short-term moving average for the EMAs, we have also just lost the bull market support bands, which is definitely not a good sign. It's looking pretty ugly right now, and once again, it does look like we're coming right down to these price targets. Yes, you can look at the trend line, $1,212 or 1,220. That is a 12% drop, a little bit more conservative, and of course, the price targets that we mentioned for this BART pattern were around about here, about 20% drop or so. So What happens if we lose this level? What happens if we lose the last line in the sand around about that $1,110 region? Well, if we zoom out, this is where things get pretty ugly and pretty concerning. So first of all, let's look at the immediate range that we're in right now. And I say immediate range, we're on the weekly time frame, zoomed out since the bear market lows in 2018. But I'll also show you the volume that was traded in the market prior to this. But for right now, let's just focus on how Ethereum's been doing from its bear market lows up until this point now. Well, what you can see, we talked about this last line in the sand round about this level. If we look at our volume profiles here, you can actually see there is huge support sitting on where we are right now, $1,360, all the way down to $1,072. So $1,072 is not too much further to the downside from the price target that we mentioned round about here, 1,100. So, you know, we do have a little bit of leeway. There is huge volume in this market just at 1,072. You can also see if I do drag this box back, this also incorporates the volume that was traded in prior cycles. So we're not now just looking at this cycle, we're also looking at data that was traded in the previous cycle. But coming back over to here, you can see what happens if we lose the absolute low $1,070. Really, $1,000 is a huge psychological level. If you lose that, momentum is going to get gearing up to the downside very quickly. Well, here's where things get concerning. Look at the volume profiles here. There is absolutely no volume until you come down to this lower time frame POC point of control at $600. If we zoom out a little bit further, come over to here, you can see there's really no data whatsoever holding this trend up. I mean, there are some touch points here. You can see some candle body closes coming into confluence with some volume around about $750, but in general, once again, let's see what the POC is here in the lower time frames. It's right here, pretty much where we just looked at. There's a little bit of a liquidity round about this $600 region. And then once again, you have another drop off until about $400 or so. And if we look over here, there is a decent volume cluster right here, and there's a decent volume cluster right here. So if we do drag this out, these are kind of the ranges that I'm looking at for Ethereum. Now, I just made a video, or I just recorded a video for Binance, and I'm also noticing a very similar setup where a lot of altcoins have been getting absolutely decimated against Bitcoin, against the US dollar, but Ethereum is holding up pretty well. Now, if we come over to ETH BTC, you can see, you know, in the previous bear market, bear in mind that the bear market really started around about here, but the Ethereum against Bitcoin bear market, Ethereum was holding up very well until we lost this uptrending line of support. And once we lost this, the bear market for Ethereum against its Bitcoin pair really started. Now, if we're looking at this most recent bull run, you can see Ethereum has been performing very well against Bitcoin on this parabolic curve, and we've quite recently just started to bleed to the downside of this. Now, one thing to also note is while Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin in a bull market, it also underperforms Bitcoin in a bear market. And in the prior bear market, this is really where we started topping out in terms of, you know, Bitcoin round about, I believe it was December 2017. But this is where the Ethereum Bitcoin bear market started. And you can see down to the lows, Ethereum dropped almost 90% against Bitcoin. So how much has Ethereum dropped against Bitcoin in this bull market? Well, it's down 21%, and that's stretching it. It's down 20.6%. Let's just say 21%. We've really not seen a sizable bear market on the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. So I do believe Ethereum needs to start playing catch up, and as we do come down to these levels around about that 1,200, then fulfilling the BART pattern around about 1,100, coming down to these volume profiles at 1,070, I think we could start coming down to these levels pretty fast. Because if we look at the oscillators on the weekly time frame, look at your stochastic. The stochastic is on average around about 76 between these two moving averages. We've got a lot of room to move to the downside. The MFI has literally just come up and tapped 75. This is the highest level it's been since the 10th of May when Ethereum was trading at $4,000. This means liquidity right now is as overextended as it was back here. Now, this doesn't mean there is as much liquidity as there was on the market. Bear in mind, liquidity conditions change when there's cheap credit and when there's expensive credit. This just shows us in general the relative strength in comparison. taking into consideration the volume as well, credit is not as cheap as it was back then. Credit was very plentiful, allowing the markets to rally. Right now, that is not the case. So because of this, we are super overextended in terms of liquidity. MFI is at 71 with lots of room to move down. Squeeze momentum indicator is finally starting to tick back into dark green, indicative that a new bearish trend should soon be coming for Ethereum. And this, in my opinion, is what's going to allow us to break beneath this trend line at 1,200. This is going to come and fulfill this BART pattern around about 1,070. And then if we do come back over to the volume profiles, looking at what's going on over here, you can really see $1,070, and call it $1,000 if you want. Take into consideration this really small volume profile right down here, $1,050. Also, you know, once again, take into consideration that $1,000 is a psychological level. If you start breaking beneath this floorboards, I just wanted to warn you, there is no data traded beneath this level. You can see volume just falls into an abyss, volume falls into an abyss, and this is the level where I think we're going to be coming down to between $600. There's touch points down here at $500. Huge volume in the market down at $370. Not necessarily saying that we're going to $370 in the immediate short term. What I'm calling for is $600 and down here at $500. These are really my bear market price targets for Ethereum. If you do watch the channel, you do know that I don't really cover Ethereum. I have said this many times before. It is no secret. I am not a big fan of Ethereum. In fact, I take that back. I'm not a fan of Ethereum. I'm not a fan of altcoins in general. I do believe Ethereum is extremely overhyped and overvalued, but nonetheless, I'm not here to, you know, give my personal opinion on altcoins and say, oh, I only trade altcoins I like. I'm here to make money. I'm a trader. And while I'm not a big fan of Ethereum, I'm a fan of Ethereum down here at $600. I'm a fan of Ethereum down here at $500. I may not be here for the long term. I may not be one of the people that's like, hey, I'm going to buy Ethereum at $500 and hodl forever. Hodl until it's $1 million. Absolutely not. I will be buying down at these levels. I will be selling to people up at these higher levels because, once again, while I'm not a fan of Ethereum, I am a realist. I'm a trader, and I do understand that other people have a different perspective than me. I think that we are going to be coming down to $600, and I think people will continue buying up this project, and it will make new highs on its US dollar pair into the next cycle. And that is kind of how I look at playing the market at this moment in time. So for today, my friends, that's all I've got. Bear in mind, once again, let's take it one price target at a time. In the lower time frames, let's see us come down to this trend line at 1,200. Let's fulfill this BART price target down here at $1,050, 1,100, and also the psychological level at 1,000. We'll keep you up to date at that point, and if we do start losing this level, be concerned, there is not much volume holding us up until we come down to $600. So for today, my friends, that is all I've got. If you enjoy my content, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment, share the videos with your friends, and also be sure to come and follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. For today, that's all I've got. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.